Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mastering Solo HR, brought to you by PrimePoint HRMS and Payroll, Citizens Bank, Association Member Trust, Focus New Jersey, Manufacturing Counts, Minding Your Business, NJBIA HR Support, New Jersey Business Magazine, and Planet New Jersey. I'm Alice Gens, Chief Operating Officer and CFO at NJBIA, and with us this morning is Judy Saylor of PrimePoint HRMS and Payroll. For those of you who are new to NJBIA, we are the largest statewide business association in the country, representing New Jersey businesses at the State House, advocating for balanced and sensible laws and regulations, and offering customer development opportunities like visibility through event sponsorship, magazine advertising, or visibility through our podcast and TV show, Minding Your Business, on NJTV 12. We also provide members access to a self-funded healthcare program, a 401k solution with full administration and fiduciary oversight, and an HR support platform that includes updates on legislation, sample policies, and job descriptions, as well as a salary benchmark tool. Our newly designed HR Essentials product combines live HR support with over 30 digital training courses for you and your staff. And speaking of training, we've got another great program coming up on October 24th, Managing Employee Leaves of Absence. This is an in-person event to be held in Roseland, and I hope you can join me there. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you in the next few days, so please be on the lookout for that. And Judy would be happy to take your questions, so please feel free to put them in the chat during the presentation. Finally, I'm pleased to introduce Judy Saylor, Director of Learning and Development for PrimePoint HR and Payroll. She holds a master's degree in Management and Organizational Leadership from Springfield College, received her Human Resource certification from Rutgers University, and is a certified SHRM professional and holds a certification in professional human resource management. Judy has presented for NJBIA, the Chamber of Commerce of Southern New Jersey Association of Community Providers, Tri-State SHRM, as well as Garden State SHRM. She's been featured in Forbes and New Jersey Matters. She's well-versed in all aspects of management and leadership, and her passion is staff development. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Judy Saylor.
Thank you so much, Alice. Hello, everyone. Let's get this party started. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Thank you.
Yes.
Well, it's very good to see all of you. I see a lot of familiar faces, which is very exciting. We're going to be talking today about mastering that solo HR, which I'm sure a lot of you are, and thank God for all of you because folks need it these days. So what do we have to deal with in terms of solo HR? Well, roughly right now, 60% of companies are cutting Gen Z employees because they have unsatisfactory performance.
Judy, excuse me. They're seeing presenter view and not just the slides.
Huh. All right, let's try that again. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay. As a college professor, it really bothers me that they're having unsatisfactory performance. You know, I really work hard to make sure that my young people understand what it means to be in the workplace, to get internships, to learn, to grow. And if 60% of the companies are dumping in these young people, we have a problem, okay? The National Federation of Independent Businesses found 87% of HR professionals reported having few or no qualified applications for open positions. Now, there are conversations out there that say, well, there's all these jobs posted, they're not actually hiring people. And I have seen that, I'm not gonna lie. But if you can't find the right person, as we all know, we're looking for specific qualities. And those qualities are often around skills, around those KPIs. So this is a bigger problem than we think. 3 in 5 workers say they live paycheck to paycheck. That's regrettable. And we know there is a lot going on in terms of unemployment, of raises, of minimum wage, you name it, there's a lot going on. So, but this statistic is not healthy. And everybody except for Gen Z is worried about and saving for retirement. I'm not sure what they think they're going to be able to do. 92% of job seekers don't actually finish online applications. That is mind-boggling to someone who has set up recruitment programs for people and onboarding programs. If that many people are getting almost all the way to the end and then not doing the actual final steps, what are we doing? Is it too hard? Now, I have an experience where an organization that I was working with, they made an offer to someone. That person said yes. 3 days later, after they already signed the documentation, they called and said, sorry, I'm taking another job. And out they went. So what's going on? A lot of people are looking for the better step to take. And so they will wait until the bitter end and then bounce. So we have a set of priorities. And our very first priority is that employee life cycle, right? It's a series of stages. And, we all know the beginning parts, right? The attraction, how do we get them to come to us? One of the ways in my early days, and I did not come up with this, someone gave me the heads up on it. I had business cards I guess I was a solo HR person back then, running resident camps. And I had cards made that had my information on the front, and on the back, I wrote, you're a rock star, call me for a job. And I would meet people in McDonald's, and I would meet people at, Chick-fil-A and you name it. And I would end up handing them the card as I was getting my food, or handing them the card as they were checking me out. And I'd say, you know what? You have some great customer service skills. Give me a call if you're looking for a job. I don't know if that would work now. It's totally worth a try. You're only seeing one piece to the person. So, we might need to be a little rough around the edges. We move into that recruiting stage, and the recruiting is the ads and your online system. Please tell me you all have an online system. The goal for us as HR is that we want to streamline and utilize tools to save us time and give us more efficiencies. So with recruiting online, it should be an easy process. Hopefully they're not going to bail out in the middle. Onboarding, yep, we're going to take them. Here's your paperwork. We do all the packets. Again, I highly advise you do it all digitally. Talk to all of any of your HR products that you're using, from payroll to HRIS, and ask them, can we make this digital? We are now permitted to accept those signatures. You do have to check certain ones, as you all know, but it makes life a lot easier when it's all in the file, so to speak. We move into engagement and development, and those are that, I'm growing in my job. I may be getting more opportunities. I'm moving into other steps. Then we start to look at performance evaluations, and as we're moving forward, that last part, and I put in there separation and then alumni and then retired, because some people do leave us prior to having to retire. They have the opportunity. They take the opportunity. They're an alumni, and then they're going to retire in a couple of years. Some of those alumni I have seen come into organizations and they consult, and they support the organization in one piece of something. They don't have to do all of it anymore. They're in a totally different venue than they were when they started with the organization. So this life cycle is what's going to, filter through as the person is growing, one would hope, in our organization and becoming part of a stronger team. One of the big steps right now that we all are very aware of is employee well-being. And everybody should be looking at their benefits packages and seeing, is there mental health support of some sort? There are opportunities to bring in people to speak. There are opportunities to, have organizations, hospitals, etc., come in and speak to your folks. We know that life is hard, and sometimes you need people to talk to, and it is not out of the realm that people need a little more support than someone else, for example. So we want to be sure we're giving them the opportunity to be successful. We need people to use their days off for the right things. We need them to re-energize. We all know, we're all HR people, we need to re-energize. And as much as my husband hates it, I'm going to take a vacation every year, with or without him, because I need to re-energize. We know this. We think about it because we're like, oh, we're getting to that time. We don't want to have to lose our days. Well, let's not even put that on the table. Put the dates on the calendar for yourself and get other folks engaged in that. One of the fun things, we can always do the creative activities in the facilities. Right now, Prime Point building looks like a haunted house. Every team has decorated all of their area for Halloween, and they are having a blast. There's spooky sounds, there's dry ice, it's all kind of silly. But everybody's engaged. It's fun. We're being collegial. We're not being on top of each other or having angry moments. Some engagement strategies. It depends on your organization, obviously. There are organizations, I just saw them. Perks Plus, for example, is one of those that, you can give recognition, you can give feedback, you can have, opportunities where folks are learning what they need to be doing, as well as being acknowledged for doing a good job. As we all remember, praise in public, punish in private. I don't want to use the word punish, but that's the statement. That's how it goes, if you do recall. We want to use some tools and feedback mechanisms. And some of those can be a little scary to people because, if any of you are on TikTok, you're going to understand where I'm coming from. There are folks on TikTok who are saying that HR is only for the company, not for the individuals. And that makes it so people won't come to you if there's a problem. So we've got to find ways where they're not saying, oh, this survey is going to have my name attached to it, so I can't speak what I want to speak. We've got to do better than that. And we're smart. We can all do this. We have to find ways where their feedback that comes to them is going to come from a positive place where we're going to cultivate them and help them improve. We're still going to be fighting against those who think that HR is only for the company. We're for both. The best HR folks I've ever worked with taught me that you are for the company and you are for the people. And sometimes those two things are hard to deal with. But we all went into these jobs to work with people. So I know that we can do this. When we talk about, the longevity and the retention areas, if we get organizations to build teams where there's great retention, that's less for you to do. You're not having to post new jobs. You're not having to hire new people. You're not having to onboard new people. You're not having to, have those 30 days that you have to use to get that person up to speed at what you're doing in your organization. So we want to think about being engaged with them and at the same time use them as strategies to help them be productive and help them be engaged with us and be able to talk to us. The best practices for talent acquisition, this is going to be a different range. If you are working in an organization that has teenagers, it's a restaurant, etc., you're going to have a totally different type of best practices for that group. If you're having adults, if you're having manufacturing, if you're having, construction, all of those are going to require a different set of best practices. Some of them are not going to be different. They're going to be exactly the same. No drinking on the job, no alcohol, no, those items. But some are going to be, we have a check-in every morning, or we have a check-in at the end of the day or at lunch, because we're trying to cultivate these individuals to be good teams in our organization. So when we find good talent, we're going to make sure we're bringing them up and involved in the things that we want them to be able to be a part of at some stage. Artificial intelligence is not going to take away people's jobs. It's going to help them be able to do more. And some of us don't necessarily want to have to do more, but it should make things easier. It's a tool. We were all afraid of computers back in the day. We adopted having a cell phone really quickly, and that's everything. As my teacher said, you're never going to have to carry a calculator around. Well, I do all the time. So artificial intelligence and the automations are going to be something that are going to keep evolving. We went from typewriter to computer to all the different types of data you can now pull out of an HRIS system. We can't use it to, make things harder. We want to use it to make things easier for everyone. We want to retain good talent. We want to identify areas where they can grow. We want to support them in that growth, hoping that ultimately we're going to make some succession planning. So the performance managers techniques, we've got to have an evaluative framework. You have to have KPIs. You have to be able to say, yes, this person's performance, they are doing this, this, and this very well. Here's what they're supposed to be doing. Here's how they've done it. They did a good job. The feedback, I think some of the best feedback I've ever gotten was just face-to-face, having a conversation. We all know that a lot of times emails and text messages, they can come through and we don't know the context. We don't really, may not necessarily understand where this person's attitude is, not in a negative way, but just where they're sitting with it. So we want to make these programs where we're going to give feedback, we're going to address any of the gaps that are there, and then we're going to help them move forward from that. And if our mindset is to keep doing that, that keeps moving forward. People will be in that positive engaged step program, shall we say. For those who are underperforming, yeah, absolutely start with face-to-face. Sometimes somebody just needs to be, have a moment and say, hey, what are you doing? Because this isn't how you were. So what's going on? Is there something going on? And those check-ins that you would do with staff, they can tell you a heck of a lot. And if somebody's having a hard time, that face-to-face is when they're going to tell you. They're not going to email you about it. They're not going to text you about it. We are seeing a huge push, as I use the word texting, not to text staff after hours. There is going to come a time where someone is going to sue, probably, FLSA, and look for the items where organizations are going beyond. If you are texting an employee after hours and they don't respond to you, it's okay because it's after hours. But in some organizations, you may text them because you want to set up something or you want to follow up to tell them something's done. We'll walk a fine line with that at a certain stage. So we're probably going to want to put some directions around that real soon. Our second priority to make things better is communication. Every organization I've ever worked for in my entire life, and I'm kind of old, always had a problem with communication. It didn't matter what it was. It could be about the company picnic. It could be about someone who got a promotion. It's just, we think we've told everyone everything and that they know. And a lot of times what we've ended up doing is just doing whisper down the lane. So when it starts with me and it ends with Danielle and Alice, the story is totally different than what I put out there. So we have to understand our audience, which is really difficult because we potentially have 5 generations in the workforce, depending on your organization. They use all different channels. That being said, there's telephone, telefax, how do we make sure we're communicating with everybody? You may have heard this story before. I did a program with an organization and they were looking to improve their communication with their staff. And so we did the very first exercise. And I said to them, everybody who wants to meet face-to-face, go down here. And everybody who wants to be, emailed, go down there. And anybody who wants to be texted, go over there. And 90% of the staff went to face-to-face. The executive director went to email. And he wanted email because between meetings and things he was doing, he could respond to people. They all want FaceTime with the boss, right? We all want that. We want the boss to know what we're doing so that they know we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Well, as soon as we got done that exercise, the executive realized that he had a problem and he really needed to address it in order to make things better for all of his teams. There needs to be schedules. If you have a monthly newsletter, note, whatever, put it on the same day every year and don't make it one of those days that could be a holiday. You need to also then measure its effectiveness. Is everybody getting the message? I've seen folks do the whole, respond button, right? So it tells you that you opened my email. That's great, but I can get around it. You wouldn't know if I looked at it or not. So we've got to come up with something that works for our community, not just what I think. This is about communication.
Not jumping on a call. I don't want to see you. You don't need to see me. I don't even want to Slack you. I will send you the damn file when I'm done with it. We don't need to do a call. We don't need to do a call. We can just come over here. We really don't need a meeting for this. Maybe we could just huddle. Not sure what this means exactly, but he's on active status. Let me just give him a ring. Give the updates for Slack. Let me just draft up a well-documented email and, you know, if anything's a paper trail. Okay. Didn't answer. Try it again. So, just typing. There you are. I just thought it'd be a little bit easier if we just chatted it through. Not jumping on the call.
Now, this is TikTok. I'm only on TikTok because I have a 17-year-old and I had to figure out what he was watching. So you kind of can get a point really out of that. But it has become a place where professionals are sharing some of their funniest moments and experiences. And when you think about communication, think about the other staff in your building, in your organization. You know somebody that's just like each one of those. And good or bad, it is what it is. But we have to think about these things. We have to think about who wants a phone call, who wants to see your face. Now, this is all done in a remote environment for that because it's just, you know, it's a show basically. But we want to create internal communication plans that are going to be the same all the time. Example here at Prime Point, Director of Operations, he is the only one who sends out the morning message that tells everybody who's out for the day, what if people are leaving early, if there's any changes that need to be addressed, if there's anything special coming up. Same person every day sends this message out. And it's great because we all get the same message and we all know, oh, okay, Tom's out today, no problem. I'll put that project aside till I can get a hold of him. It helps with that communication to have it be a standard person. You want an all-in-one communication system. I'll put a plugin in here. Your HRIS systems or your payroll systems, most of them now have something along the lines of a, you know, internet channel that you can put things on. Okay, so for example, in Prime Point, we have employee experience. I can write messages to people in there. I can post flyers if something's coming up that's fun. I can share that information, and that way everybody gets it all for everything. I don't have to wander around the building and go, oh, by the way, did you see this? Oh, by the way, did you see that? I know that they're getting access to this and they can look at it in their leisure. Encourage face-to-face communication when it's merited. Okay, the little video in the past, that was funny, you know, it's cute. But think about it. Not everything needs to be a meeting. And, you know, I know the phrase, you know, this meeting could have been an email. We do that a lot. And sometimes we do it because we think it's better, but it might not be. And so you have to kind of evaluate those things with people. What is the best way to communicate? And what is the best way then to respond? And it could just be, it's an email and you leave the, you know, your ending open to, please let me know if, whatever. Surveys. Prime Point does surveys with best places to work, and they're great. That is a completely anonymous survey. We don't see any of that. And so we get to, you know, what they do send you is afterwards, you get this whole list of all the things that employees have concerns about or things that they really like or are interested in. And so you get this kind of unbiased vision of what's been going on. They're a great help to HR folks. I do really like them. Our third priority is your processes. You have to have processes for everything that you need in your organization. We start with communications. We know we have to have a process for benefits. Benefits management could be the death of all joy in the world. Folks you get the packets, they come in, you're supposed to give them to them. Okay, you're not doing paper, maybe you're now doing electronic and you're sending it through. That's great. Who's sending it out? What's the date they're due back? All those little pieces, right? You have to have a process for that. Payroll, you have a process for them, sure. Time sheets, electronic or otherwise. Promotions, terminations, workplace policies. People can't come around and go, well, I just made a policy on blah, blah, blah. No, that's not how that works. HR needs to be in that. You can't just go making things willy-nilly. That's not how it goes. With your technology, it should be able to do a heck of a lot of work for you. Our company, we have one HR director here. We have 72 employees, and we use our system to do a lot of stuff because we need to with having one person in that role. So it's everything that you need: onboarding, communication, documentation, tracking, levels of support, and then be able to evaluate, what are we doing? What are we doing now? How did we do? Look back in the past. It's easy to say, oh yeah, you could just do this, but you have to kind of grow and learn with your HRIS system to get some of those things rolling the way you want them.
HR, this is Laura. Live in the dream. How about you? Would like to be living the dream. I can't believe you got the right place. What? Yes, I am the one who posts the jobs here for this company. That is me. Correct. I help to spot check them before they get posted. Sorry, you make me a little nervous. Was there something listed publicly that looked incorrect? Several things. Oh, can you tell me what looks off? What? The applicant tracking system has an error? Oh. No, sorry, it's just the first time that someone hasn't joked that the problem was salary, so wasn't prepared. I haven't seen any slowdown in the submitted application, so I wonder how you're getting your error. Let's take a look. What portion of the process are you encountering the error? After the work history section, okay. So I know that I can see it on my end. What are you seeing on your end? Is it asking you anything? You don't see. And you just can't get past that page, huh? Even though it's done. I think I pinpointed the error. Yeah, the reason you can't resume is because it's asking for a resume. You're gonna need to.
Now, how many people have had to take a phone call from an applicant who's stuck, right? So we know that it's a learning curve. We're working together, but I love her. She's funny. She does some of the best HR giggles, let me tell you. Priority number 4, which I never thought I would have to worry about, is workplace safety. Yeah, there's trips and falls. There's OSHA. I get all that. Staff are worried about violence in the workplace. Now we're worried about weather-related damage or injury. Theft. I worked for an organization for 8 years. I knew everybody that worked in that building, and someone stole my wallet. So it's not impossible. And now with marijuana in the workplace, if you could all raise your hands, tell me how much you are worried about people coming in and you're not noticing or realizing that they're inebriated. It's a problem. And so this has to be a priority. It could be the second priority, but it's probably the 4th, because if we're doing our engagement with our staff correctly, some of this we don't have to worry about. It is totally okay for folks who need to use medical marijuana. It is totally okay for them to use it as if it were a cocktail. They have the right to in the state of New Jersey. We still need to be engaged in how are they doing, because their actions can impact other people's actions. And so we want to make sure that we've got our bases covered, whatever that might be. I know we're still looking at rules for this, and it's going to keep evolving as we go forward. You know, this was done, and it's a big tax win for us in the state. So excuse me, we have to work together on it. So number 5, getting a seat at the table at leadership. If HR is not in the room and people are making decisions and they're not informing HR or having HR's input, because we as HR people have been trained in certain areas to monitor and manage these things. So you have to have a seat at the leadership table. You have to develop those relationships with your executives, with other managers, other departments. You know, you have to communicate to people in terms of, are we getting any ROI out of this? And you'll have folks who, when you say that question, will go, what do you mean? Are employees working correctly? Are they working efficiently? Are we spending too much money on XYZ? Is there something we could be doing better that would help our staff, that would help our organization? Because if we help the staff, it helps the organization. HR is the one who anticipates the needs, right? So, okay, well, we have 35 more clients. All right, we need to add another person to the core team because they have more people calling in to get payroll done, to get HR assistance. You can't short staff the folks who are doing all the customer service and the support. So HR looks at that and they say, okay, so for every X number of employees I have, we need another team, or we need X. You can't get forward with that if you're not at the leadership table. And I've seen great HR people not be in the room for the right things when I was in the room for something else, and I'm looking at them going, where's HR? They need to be in here. You shouldn't make any of these decisions until you talk to them about the handbook. You know, the handbook. Did you check the handbook? Priority 6, legal compliance. I think anybody who's an HR professional should get a law degree to go simultaneously with it, because I feel like some days I got one of those. We need to talk about current laws because they're changing. We need to talk about upcoming laws because they're changing. We need to talk about regulations because they're changing. We need to talk about the penalties we can receive. ACA was like the biggest thing ever. Here at Prime Point, I started out in HR Solutions, and I would process people's ACA reports. And every once in a while, I would come across in an audit that something that was bad. And I was like, oh, I'd reach out to my HR person at that organization. I'd say, hey, we need to talk about this. Oh, no, it's fine. The boss says it's fine. I'm like, okay. Following year, because that's how long it takes them to do all those audits. Not knocking them, just recognizing the volume of people. Organization gets a letter that says, you have $1 million in fines. And he calls me. What is this? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not there. What is it? And he says, it's a letter from the Fed. Okay. It says we have a fine for our ACA. And I said, well, I did notify you on this date that this was a problem and you needed to offer this person benefits. So that person probably went to the marketplace and you got dinged for every month of the year because they were with you every month of the year. You would have thought it was like, I never spoke to them. What? I don't understand. Said, we can work on it. We'll schedule time. Send me the letter. I'll review it. We'll figure it out. And we figured it out. And we were able to help them. It was fine. But penalties are penalties. They're still like, we need to be aware of these things. And HR is the one that usually gets the letter, as we all know. Employee rights. All of the young people these days are struggling, right? And they're starting to realize that, you know, if they're working for a bad manager, they need to go get another job. Some of my son's friends had worked for one of our local grocery stores, and this young man's coming to me and he's saying, yeah, he said, I have to work the whole weekend and I have to do this and I have to do that. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right. What are you talking about? And this fellow was, this manager, because he was short-staffed, was running these kids through the ringer. And I went to his parents and I said, quit, tell him to quit. He needs to quit. This is not going to get better. It's going to get worse because they don't have enough staff. And these young people who were 16 at the time are the ones picking up the slack, and they're not prepared for this. They're not being treated the way they should be. We've got employee rights. We've got policy creation. We've got policy enforcement. Did you check the handbook for that? We need to think about these things. And of course, document security, because we hold everybody's social security numbers and we hold all those details, and we have to be careful. It is not for, not trying. Google got hacked, and them of all people, they should have been one that would have been okay in theory. So I went through, I don't know, maybe a dozen different organizations, and I looked at how did they lay out their priorities in order to get the jobs done. The daily ones: address employee questions and concerns promptly. You can head off things, and you know this, I'm preaching to the choir. You can head off a problem by catching it when it comes to your desk and they say something to you about it. Monitor employee attendance. There are times people don't show up for work and they didn't take the day off. And so people start talking and they're like, well, where are they at? I don't know. Where did they go? Maybe you should call and make sure they're okay. Like we've had a couple things in the last few years that people could not be okay. So we should just check and make sure. Make sure your leaves are approved. Make sure your leaves are documented correctly. Leaves keep coming back up for some reason. It just seems to be the thing. Some organizations think that they don't have to do that, and some think they do have to do that, and it's going to change again. Be prepared. And I looked into the crystal ball to get that answer. But we have to think about how are our leaves done? Who's managing the process? How are we managing the tasks required to get through it? You're posting job ads, you're screening resumes. Sometimes you don't have to screen resumes. If you are using an HRIS system, it will do it for you. You might have to have someone support you in putting in, knockout questions or those kind of items, but it can do it for you. You just have to have that person who can help you figure that part out. Manage employee relations issues and conflicts. If someone comes to you and says, Bob and Judy are fighting, or having an argument over in the conference room, HR probably needs to go over there and make sure that, neutral corners, everybody knock it off, whatever the problem is. There are times that people are, how should I say, stressed. I have told my child, there are days when someone's going to not be nice to you, right? As a young person, I would say this to him. And I said, and sometimes it's not you, you're just the next person in line. They're mad at somebody else way back there, but you're the one in front of them. So are they wrong? Yes. Should they be nice to each other? Yes. HR may need to go over and say, hey, this isn't how we're going to operate at work. Weekly priorities, and these could be different for everybody. Make sure payroll's accurate. There was an organization once that put too many zeros in someone's paycheck, and that person got the notification that they had additional funds come in, and they called their spouse and had their spouse go empty the bank account, because the money had been put in there and it wasn't for them. There's no law that says they have to give it back. So we have to make sure we're right and run through all of those, previews and reviews that you can do in a payroll system. Just do that. Manage the onboarding process. Coordinate ongoing trainings, and the onboarding process blends into the trainings, right? Because we'll have orientation, we'll have specific targeted training for different areas of the building or things that they're going to do. They also are hoping for us to track metrics, and a lot of your HRIS systems can do that for you. It will work. So, monthly is a lot of audits. It's a lot of opportunities where we're doing performance appraisals, or we are facilitating managers to do the performance appraisals. And so we've got to remind them, we've got to, make sure that they're getting what they need. One of the organizations that I worked for many, many years ago, this kind of thing was laid out, and on our calendars, it would define a day that this was the day that we wanted you to do this, because more people were in the building, or it was the day that all the managers were going to have their meetings. So we would follow up and do what around their schedules so that they could get it done when we needed them to get it done. You're going to be doing a lot of monitoring. You're going to be doing administering employee benefits. You're going to do HR reports. All of it has to have some level of HR. If they're pulling you to do other things, that's a whole different story. And that is something you're going to have to manage with them, or your boss, or their boss's boss. Quarterly priorities. Now, for some organizations, there are other types of quarterly priorities that you have to do. You might have, I want to say OSHA, but people that are going to come in and they're going to evaluate what's going on. They're doing their checks. My spouse works for UPS. They pull every 2 days, 2 different trucks are pulled off the line. They're reviewing them. It's the same kind of thing for HR, where we may pull some people off and say, hey, let's talk. I want to know what's going on. How you doing? Do you see anything? Yes, hold on. Christine, I think you can unmute. Do you have a question? Mm-hmm. Oh. Is there a website place employers can go to for current legal compliance laws and regulations? Well, NJBIA has a really good product for this. I do follow 2 lawyers. I can send you the websites for them, and you get a item every day about one of the new legislative pieces. You could also just go to the Fed or the state, depending on how much time you have. The state has a page that lists all of the laws that are coming up and what stages they're in. So you could see something coming a mile away that could impact your organization specifically. Ooh. Okay. Lost my train of thought. Oh, so when you're doing each of these different types of evaluations or priorities, you have to document them, and as in HR, we all say document, document, document. If you don't document, it didn't happen. But for some people, they feel like it might have, and it's not. If there's nothing there, if there's no specific to say, yes, this occurred on this date and here's the signature and blah, 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 it didn't happen. I've often had to say to staff, did you document what they did? No. Well, when did it start? 2 months ago. Well, you own this person now for another 3 months because you haven't documented anything. We can't do anything. Sometimes managers don't understand that. Sometimes managers think, oh no, we can just do this. Nope, you can't. Your annual priorities are going to be a whole nother picture, obviously, because we've got year end, we've got potentially for a lot of folks, benefits changes. We've got, organizational changes, right? Because we all know in December and January and February, organizations are going to, okay, do we need to grow? Do we need to contract? Do we need to, add people here or take people there? So we're in that point of our workforce planning. What do I need to do for us as an organization to keep moving forward and not having difficulties? And you're going to see this as you go throughout the year, but it's those annual points where it really becomes clear. If you're having to do audits or put in, I don't know, I can't think of a whole list of all the employees, you're going to start to realize, like, where are the changes at? What has occurred with these changes? Has productivity gone up? Has productivity gone down? Is money up? Is money down? how is this going to impact going into the new year and what is the change? And of course, if you're a seasonal type organization, this may be the point in time where you can do all of your extra work, because, you know, if it's landscaping, gardening, whatever it could be, those summer months, summer camps, for example, YMCA's, etc. That's your spring, fall is jam-packed. The only time you're going to be able to do some of this work is going to end up being December and January. You're going to have to make sure that your compliance is, you know, all done, all the assessments that need to be done. And then you're going to have to look at your culture. And I did a lot of research looking for things that would help you with culture. And quite frankly, it goes from one end of the screen to the other. And it still didn't give me a picture that I could say to you, here are the 5 things you need to do. Because culture in every organization is different. I'm sure we all know this. It is a question of leadership, right? Because the leader is the one who sets that pace to begin with. So in some organizations, nonprofits, for example, the president should not be in the building as much as possible because they're out raising money. And I know that because I did those jobs. But then you've got folks who they're not in the building because there's multiple buildings or they have to travel or whatever. So we've got to think about how do we manage our culture? And it's the leadership team, it's the HR director. If someone goes to the HR director and they're crying, they're upset, they need help, and that director helps them, everybody else is going to know that the director is open for the employees. And that takes us back to that whole point of a lot of folks seem to think HR is only for the company. It's not, it's for the employee. A lot of you set the pace in your organizations and you do a great job at it. I've been to many of your organizations as well as seen you at many conferences. You're doing a great job. It's still going to be a little difficult these days. Some tips and tricks that I was thinking of as throughout my history. Of course, use tools. Google or Smartsheets is awesome, in my opinion, to help you keep track of your tasks and your deadlines. Smartsheets will just about do the dishes. Like if it did the dishes, it'd be perfect. But it will communicate, it will send things out. It does a ton of things. We use it here in a couple of our departments, and it is a lifesaver. Make sure that if you are not currently automating a lot of your HR tasks, do it. If you need help, if you need somebody to walk you through something, call me. I'm happy to help everybody. Why? Because all oars in the water make the boat rise. If you work together, you need allies. You need people that you can call and go, hey, did you ever have this happen? Because I just had this happen and I don't know what to do about it. This is a totally new one for me. Stay up to date with the HR trends. Get on these webinars. It's not just about getting credits, it's about understanding what we're doing as a community and an organization to move forward. And the best place to get it is jumping on some of these with all different types of organizations, not just us. Maintain your documentation, save your documentation, back up your computers, back up your files, whatever that means in your organization. Here at Prime Point, we have servers that do that. I don't have to back up things, but in other organizations, it could be different. Join the professional groups. If you're an HR person and you're not a member of SHRM, you're missing out. And I know a lot of folks are, down on SHRM right now because of the lawsuit, but you have to think about, where am I getting this context from? Where am I getting the latest educational pieces from? And lastly, if you're not going to the Garden State SHRM and you're a Jersey person, you're missing the boat. First of all, it does give you credits if you need to do that. But second of all, you build friendships and allies. And when you do have a problem, people will pick up the phone and help you. I look forward to the conferences. I go to lots of conferences because that's my job. But I meet people there and I don't let them go. They get in my phone, we talk. There's a couple of you on here that I'm so excited that you're on. But it's a thing. And the only way to do that is to build relationships. And if you're not going to your local chapter, and you're not going to Garden State as the state as a whole, you're missing out. If you don't know where your chapter is, email me, I will find it for you, and I'll get you connected to the president of your chapter, because it matters. It really can give you a lot more resources. So, any questions? Hmm? Oops. No questions? Are we good?
Hi, Judy.
All right, I think we're good.
All right, thank you, thank you so much, Judy. Excellent presentation. And as we all know in HR, there's just a lot going on, and that was a great overview of things. Yes, that we'll address with, yes, we are getting slides. So we will send out the slides and the recording of this for you in the next couple of days. I do want to just follow up on what I put in the chat. As Judy mentioned, NJBIA has a very comprehensive HR platform that comes free with your membership. So I urge you to log on to our website, log in, and then you will have a link to the HR support center. It's powered by Mineral. So if you're seeing a product Mineral like in your email, that's the platform that we purchase on your behalf behind the scenes. And it's incredibly comprehensive. We'll give you all the regulations and laws that you need to know, only the ones you need to know for New Jersey and federal, wherever states you work in, and how many employees you have. So it can filter all of that, and all you're going to see is what you need to see. So hope you guys can log in, take a look at that. Any problems with that, feel free to reach out to me or member services, and someone can walk you through it. I'd be happy to do that. Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Great to see all of you. Happy Friday. Until next time, for Judy Saylor of Prime Point, this is Alice Gens, and thanks so much for being with us, and enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.